Hey, what it do? It's your boy King Crowder, checking back in with another edition of History We Should Know, or a figure that we should focus more on. Today's lesson will be centered on Benjamin Banneker. For those who do not know, Benjamin Banneker wrote, authored, and made the Almanacs of the United States. He was a mathematician, a naturalist, and an astronomer. Benjamin Banneker was actually born in Baltimore, Maryland in 1731. His father was an enslaved man at the time. Benjamin Banneker was actually born into a free family because his mother was free. So he was actually born a free man around this time. His father's name was Robert and his mother's name was Mary Banneker because they were married. The reason why it was such a spectacular idea is that the Banneker family self-educated them because they had no formal education. So Benjamin was self-educating himself how to read, do mathematics, and all of the enormous amount of accomplishment this gentleman did in his lifetime. Benjamin had to learn it from a child because he went to school at a very early age, elementary, and he never went to any college, postdoctorate programs, anything like that. Mr. Banneker was a man of many talents. One of the most significant talents that we do not discuss in detail as we should is his ability to create clocks. Mr. Banneker is credited for making the first wooden clock and wristwatch. Why is it such a significant thing? Because there was no such thing as keeping time as we did. So Benjamin Banneker highlighted and amplified how time was kept in a big way. If it was not for him breaking that down, that invention that we use so much of, that we think about, he was the founder of that item. One legend about Benjamin Banneker that has been said, but it hasn't been articulately certified about him, was that the Big Ben clock that we see in London was actually made and directed by this gentleman. It's pretty extraordinary when you think about how many things a first generation freed slave and formerly enslaved family accomplished in his lifetime, that he really did that. The second most phenomenal thing about Big Ben, along with all his accomplishments, Mr. Banneker actually created the city of DC. The District of Columbia was architected by this gentleman. He had the blueprints, he created it, he built the city using astronomy and science. Most people that live inside the district will notice how beautiful the architecture is and how well built the city is. You must think, in 1700s, this gentleman created that city. This self-educated, no formal education, freedman slave known as Benjamin Banneker created the city of DC from his mind. The intellectual himself started the establishment and used all blueprints from his thought process alone. An incredible milestone when you think about it, what he did in such a short time. The third most incredible thing that Benjamin Banneker did that is on his resume and talked about and discussed heavily, he actually wrote letters to Thomas Jefferson about the horrendous acts of slavery. Now, Mr. Jefferson did nothing about it at the time, but Mr. Banneker pleaded that the former enslaved of the South is horrendous to us as a nation. He wrote thoroughly about how it hurt him being an American citizen, how he felt about it. And the one articulate thing we saw is that Mr. President was so shocked that a Black American had the articulate ability to express himself that he wrote him back. He wrote Mr. Banneker back saying he understood how he felt, yada, 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 and that he understood how the conversation needs to be had. No changes was done by Thomas Jefferson, so you can say that nothing really occurred from the situation. But Mr. Banneker had the pride and the heart enough to say and express how he felt. One thing about Benjamin Banneker that I learned that kind of caught me off guard was that how he was never married and never had children. He was so dedicated to his work and his craft and what he did for a living and being an inventor that he never wanted to have a family for himself, which is very rare in those times. Mr. Banneker was fully focused on his people, growing his lifestyle and his longevity. Mr. Banneker thought this part of history was extremely important and extremely beneficial, so you saw it early on. The story of Mr. Banneker is an unsold story in American history based on his innovative lifestyle, his innovative thing, and his innovative process that we do not transpose enough. Mr. Banneker was an astronomer. He revolutionized America. He transforms our ideology, and his inventions, the top 3 that we gave you, that he had to implement on, or the most things that he did in his lifetime. I want to give him his credit, man, and give him his flowers right now. But I'm going to tell you right now, Benjamin Banneker was a great somebody and a great gentleman of his time. I just want to give him his flowers in this process. I want to thank y'all for watching the video on the King Crowners lesson on Benjamin Banneker and how he has so much influence on American society. Please comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. If you can, it'll help tremendously. And I'm checking out again. Peace.